Hey everybody, welcome into the Card Closet for another episode. This is going to be a very special episode featuring the complete playing day run of Ted Williams. In my book, Ted Williams is the second or third best hitter of all time, and I use a pound for pound statistic to come to that conclusion. When he was playing, he was one of the best ever. And we're going to run through his career, show you a card from each of his seasons, talk about those seasons a little bit. And I'm not going to get into why particular cards were chosen, but just to kind of give you a quick overview, these cards were chosen intentionally. I try to pick a main set that I go after each year and get the Ted Williams card from that main set. But as you probably know, Ted Williams is not in a lot of sets. He opted out. So some years you've got to get a little bit creative to find a card that he's in. So without further ado, let's kick off the Ted Williams Showcase. So starting off, we have Ted Williams rookie card, which is 1939 Play Ball. Ted Williams burst on the scene in 1939. Did not hit like a rookie, actually had a phenomenal season. Listen to these statistics. Scored 131 runs, had 185 hits, 31 home runs, led the league with 145 RBI, had 107 walks, a 327 batting average, slugged 609, and had an on-base percentage of 436. And as a rookie, he led the league with 344 total bases. He was fourth in the MVP voting in 1939. In his sophomore season, Ted Williams followed up the rookie season with another fantastic year. Finished 1940 season with 23 home runs, 113 RBIs, and batted .344. He led the league in on-base percentage at .442, and he finished 14th in the MVP voting. Shown here, Ted Williams in his second year card. This is the 1940 Play Ball card. (1941), here we have Ted Williams in his 1941 Play Ball card. 1941, another incredible season for Ted. 37 home runs, 120 RBIs, batted .406. Yes, it's his fabled .406 batting season. On-base percentage of .553, slugging of .735. Second in the MVP. Should have been MVP in my mind with those kind of numbers. He missed the Triple Crown by 5 RBIs. Just a phenomenal year. Only his third season. For 1942, we've got Ted Williams here shown in the Boston Red Sox team-issued set. His fourth year, Ted Williams won the Triple Crown in 1942. 36 homers, 137 RBI, batted .356, led the league in on-base percentage and slugging and total bases. But again, second in the MVP voting, even despite winning the Triple Crown. So a couple years in a row, I think he got robbed of the Triple Crown. And he just was totally lighting it up with his stats. Thankfully, the Boston Red Sox during the 1940s have a lot of team-issued sets when other companies weren't making cards. The 40s are really hit and miss for finding cards of your players for every year. This is Ted Williams' 1943 MP and Company. 1943, unfortunately for Ted Williams, was a missed season. Immediately following his Triple Crown the year before, Ted Williams went into the armed services to fight in World War II, and he missed the entire 1943 season. In 1944 and 1945, Ted Williams also missed the entire seasons for military service. There were no cards put out those years due to the World War II. So we're going to jump right to 1946. So after 3 years off, Ted Williams came right back with a gusto and won the MVP award in 1946. Just a phenomenal year. 38 home runs, 123 RBIs, 342 average, 497 on base percentage, 667 slugging. Led the league with 343 total bases. This is Ted Williams' 1946 Boston Red Sox team issue card. This is Ted Williams' Bond Bred card from 1947. His second year back from the military service, Ted Williams again won the Triple Crown and again was not the MVP after winning the Triple Crown. He had 32 home runs, 114 RBIs, and a 343 batting average. Again led the league in on-base percentage and slugging percentage and total bases. This is Ted Williams' 1948 blue tint. 1948, another spectacular season for Ted. Led the league with 44 doubles and a 369 average, 497 on-base percentage, and 615 slugging percentage. All league leaders. He was third in the MVP voting. Added 25 homers and 127 RBI. 1948, another great year for Ted. This card might look familiar. It's an identical front to the 1943 MP and Company, but this is Ted Williams' 1949 MP and Company card. 1949, Ted Williams, another monster season, leading the league in runs, doubles, home runs, RBIs, on-base percentage, total bases, and slugging percentage, and he won the American League MVP. Now here's one crazy thing about Ted Williams that year. 43 homers, 159 RBIs, both led the league. His batting average of 343 was the same batting average as the league leader. He lost the batting title that year by fractions of a point. He was that close to winning a third Triple Crown in 1949. Missed it by fractions of a batting average point. '49 would mark the end of the super dominant years when you look over his career statistics. After 1950 and later, you just don't see quite the clout of numbers, and that's because of, as we'll find out, injuries, a lot of missed games, and then more military service. This is Ted Williams' 1950 Bowman card. Unfortunately, the Red Sox had no representatives in the 49 Bowman set, and thankfully in 1950, they started to have that. So 1950 was a down year for Ted due to injuries. Only played in 89 games. Still had monster average type numbers, but his cumulative numbers were down. Still managed to finish 21st in the MVP voting. Not sure how that happened, but a good year considering he played half a season roughly. 28 home runs, 97 RBIs, and batted .317. This is Ted Williams' 1951 Bowman card. 1951, he had a very good year. 30 home runs, 126 RBIs, 318 average, and as usual, led the league in on-base percentage and slugging percentage and total bases. Only 13th in the MVP voting that year. 144 walks. 1951 would be the last full season Ted would play. He would miss 20 or more games or 18 or more games every season following this for the rest of his career. And he played for another 9 years. This is Ted Williams' 1952 Burke Ross card. 1952 was the second of 3 times that Ted Williams batted 400 for a season. A lot of people don't realize he batted 400 3 times, but unfortunately, this time and the next time after this, he didn't have enough at-bats to qualify for the batting title. In 1952, he only played 6 games, 4 hits and 10 at-bats for a 400 batting average, and then he was whisked away to the Korean War for more military duty. This is Ted's 1953 Canadian Exhibits card. The dead giveaway is the purple tint on this baby. 1953, he came back from the Korean War, but missed most of the season. When he did come back, he played 37 games, batted .407 in those 37 games, and if you extrapolate out his numbers of what he did over those 37 games to a full season, he would have had about 50 home runs and about 130 RBIs in addition to that .407 average. So just another case of Ted getting robbed of games and not quite getting those running statistics the way other players were doing that were playing. But nonetheless, a good season for the partial season he played. Here we have Ted's 1954 Topps card. 1954 Topps set had 2 Ted Williams cards in it. This is the other one, but I like the yellow version better. So that's the one we'll show here. 1954, he led the league in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, walks. Did not lead the league in batting, but he did bat .345, so very high average that year again. 1954, he only played 117 games, so he missed a good 37 games there for various reasons. 29 home runs, 89 RBIs. 1954 Ted Williams. This is 1955 Topps card of Ted. 1955 is a favorite design of a lot of vintage collectors. Really love how it's got the picture of his face up close and then a full swing shot included on the front as well. Plus that old Red Sox logo is always cool. But 1955, Ted Williams only played in 98 games. But despite that, he still had 28 home runs, 83 RBIs, and batted .356. So still a decent year despite the absence of games and plate appearances. .1956 Topps is another fan favorite. Very similar to the 1955 with the same headshot of Ted there, but a different picture in the background. In 1956, Ted Williams missed 18 games, but still managed to hit 24 home runs and 82 RBIs in those games. And his batting average was .345, very solid for a 37-year-old. And he led the league in on-base percentage with .479. In 1957, Ted missed 22 games, resulting in 38 home runs and 87 RBIs, but he had enough at-bats and plate appearances to bat .388 and take the batting title, his first batting title since 1948. He also led the league on base percentage and slugging percentage. Very common in his day for him to do that, as you're finding out. And he finished second in the MVP voting, all at the age of 38 years old. Nice that we're getting a run of Topps cards here by Ted. For a few years anyway, he had his differences with them resolved, so that's good to see. This is 1958 Topps card of Ted as a 39-year-old. He missed 25 games, but still had enough plate appearances to qualify for the batting crown and won it with .328 batting average, 60 points lower than he'd won it the year before. He also led the league in on-base percentage with .458 and was 7th in the MVP voting that year. This would be Ted's last Topps card. He would not have Topps card for the remaining years of his career. For 1959, we have the Jays Publishing card of Ted Williams. 1959, he was 40 years old. He missed 51 games. The worst statistical year of his career. 10 home runs, 43 RBIs. Only batted .254. Only the one and only time he would bat below .316 in his career. Age was starting to catch up with him in 1959. And he was nearing the end. In 1960, Ted's final season, we have to go with the Fleer set. This is his 1960 Fleer card. He would only play 113 games, but still managed to hit 29 home runs in his final season, including a home run in his final at-bat to finish with 521 for his career. He batted .316 his final year, still had a on-base percentage of .451, and still had a slugging percentage of .645, all as a 41-year-old about to retire veteran. He played in both All-Star games in 1960 and was 13th in MVP voting, topping off just a fantastic career for the Splendid Splinter. And finally, we have Ted's 1961 Fleer card. He didn't play in 1961, but I like to get a card that shows their final statistics on the back, which you usually get the year after they're done playing. So this is his Sunset card from 1961. You know, I mentioned that pound for pound statistic that I like a lot. If you apply that to his career and extrapolate that to 162 game seasons like we have now, and just for fun, pretend he didn't miss any games. You know, he missed almost 5 entire seasons due to military service alone. Let's pretend he played 162 games and that he didn't miss any games, and that he maintained his 162 game average for every season. These would have been his career statistics: 2,794 runs, 4,136 hits, 814 home runs, 2,860 RBIs, 3,146 walks, batting average of .344, on-base percentage of .482, slugging percentage of .634, And WAR, I'm not a big fan of WAR, but I know a lot of people pay attention to it. A WAR of 189.2. There are only a couple people in Major League history that, if you extrapolate their careers in that same way, that even get close to that. They're all Yankees: Ruth, DiMaggio, and Gehrig. So in my book, he's 2, maybe 3 on the all-time batting best hitters of all time, Ted Williams. So hope you enjoyed that. 22 seasons, 20 cards, 2 seasons where they weren't making cards. But that'll wrap up this Ted Williams showcase. Please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. If you like content like this, we'll see you again. Bye.